All stories. We've got stories. Oh, funny stories. With Alex Rios. He tells funny. All stories.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Jamin Marshall Show. Today I have Alex Rios right here, my good friend and comedian.
Hey.
Buddy, how's it going?
Oh, I'm good. How are you? Doing good.
I'm doing great. I like your shirt. You're repping my brother there.
Oh, yeah.
And Billy and Davey.
Yeah.
And Miguel. So, Alex, I wanted to ask you, how did you get into comedy? Why comedy? And are you a masochist? No, I'm just kidding.
To answer that last part, I think so.
Yeah, I think we
a
all
little
are
bit.
to some degree, right?
I think if you're a performer, that has something a little bit to do with it, you know. Why comedy? I don't know. A lot of people say that, like, growing up, they were, like, always in the comedy, that they always thought they would be a stand-up comedian. I know a lot of people that, like, thought that they were going to do that since they were kids. That was never a thing for me. I liked comedy, but I was never like a super fan. I didn't really get into comedy, like super into it until I was like probably 19 or 20, like years old. I think the first person I really heard and loved was Mitch Hedberg, and I think that has a little bit to do with my style of comedy, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Liking him. I didn't really know I was going to be a comedian until I was about 22 or 23 years old. So it took a little bit. And how I got into comedy is kind of a weird story.
How old are you now?
I am 33.
Okay, so been doing it for a few years.
Yeah, I've been doing it. I started doing comedy when I was 23 years old. So, yeah, it's been about 10 years. How I got into comedy, I was living in San Francisco at the time, and I did roughly like between 5 and 10 open mics, I want to say. And those of you, if you don't know what an open mic is for comedy, think of the worst thing that you could ever see live, and it's worse than that. They could be really bad. These open mics are like dedicated just to comedy, just to stand-up comedy, and it's a mixed bag. You could get someone that's seasoned, that's working out jokes, you know, that treats it like band practice, that's trying to get something out of the bit, or you could get someone that that has never done it, that their friends at a party said that they're funny, and then they try to do it, and it's really bad.
Yeah,
it's usually racist, usually. But so I went to open mics in San Francisco, and you know me for a long time, and this is kind of what happened. I was going through a breakup. I was really sad, and I was working at a restaurant, and one of the waiters, he's a stand-up, and he still is. And at that time, I think he was doing stand-up for like 5 years. He was in the game for a little while. And he asked me if I wanted to go get a drink, and I was like, sure. And then we ended up at an open mic, and he was doing stand-up. I thought that was really cool. And then the next night, I went out with him again, and I ended up signing up. And I was really nervous. I was like, just like fucking shaking. You know, so I just started pounding whiskeys. I was just like one after another, just pounding them. And I ended up getting like blacked out drunk and like fell off the stage because I was so drunk at my first time. I don't really remember. I asked some people, and they said that it was the funniest, worst thing they ever saw. I woke up in my little garage that I lived in with people I'd never met. I lived in a really weird place. But anyway, I woke up and then kind of pieced things together, and I was like, oh my God, I have to quit my job. I can't look at this guy in the face ever again.
And what? But you didn't quit your job.
No, I didn't quit. I didn't quit that job. And until I moved, obviously. But I worked I kept on working at the job, and he was like, yeah, he was being nice about it. He was just like, you know, you just got to go out there and throw things against the wall and see what sticks. And you know, he's right. And I think, you know, that's what I ended up having to do, is just for like a year straight, just bombing every single night I was on stage.
I think that is the way that it goes, though. You have to suck real bad for a long time until you don't suck anymore, because that's how it works.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think any performer's familiar with that, you know. You start, you know, from nothing and hopefully work your way up to something, you know.
Yeah. You can't stay bad forever if you keep.
It's true. You keep trying, yeah.
I don't know what it's like to be up there by yourself.
You just get used to it. It's just like, it just becomes the thing you do, you know. I was never good at that. Like, I was never a good public speaker, like in high school, giving like presentations. I was always terrified. Like, you know, I had like a really bad stutter growing up. It still comes out every once in a while, but it's like, it was really bad growing up.
Yeah.
And so like, I was terrified of public speaking, and I don't know why some stuttering idiot like me decided to do stand-up, but that's what happened.
It was your own way of doing a sort of therapy for something purely for yourself that you needed to do and express. That was your own speech therapy, and you did it. And it's like Samuel L. Jackson. He cured his own stutter. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Using the word motherfucker. So anytime you hear motherfucker, I'm serious.
Really?
That's true. And
that's awesome.
And that would be his way to get through it, and he did.
Huh. I didn't know that. That's kind of interesting, because I always thought M's were one of the hardest like letters to say, like, because you got to like all the way over each arch. You got you got two arches to get over.
Maybe that's why he picked that one.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's a cool story.
He's like, wow, that's very interesting, and it reminds me of Alex.
Yeah.
And I think it shows just how dedicated and self-reliant you are, and how strong you are, that you can take on something like that and overcome it, and face a fear. I was always super impressed. Like, from the minute you told me that you were going to do that, I wasn't thinking like, oh, this is impossible or something. I was just thinking, well, I'm really impressed that you're taking something like that on, and that you fucking found your own voice and way to do it and approach. And that's very difficult. I'm sure. You know, like I said, I haven't done comedy, but I can imagine.
Right. Well, thank you. I appreciate those. Those are very kind words. Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of oversaid and kind of corny, but you know, that's kind of where comedy comes from a lot of the time. You know, is bad situations. You know.
Yeah.
But
art in general can be said for art.
Right.
Comedy, music. Painting and writing, and there's a lot of tortured artists, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
I wasn't even familiar with all of my torture until later in life.
That's how it goes, though, right? You don't get to see it until you're away from it, you know?
Yeah. So we covered your first performance ever. When was your last performance before lockdown?
It was March 13th. It was in Portland at the Siren Theater. It's an old school. It was an old Chinese school, and they turned it into a performance place. Like there's a theater that probably holds like maybe 60 to 80 people, maybe 100. Like, I don't really know. It's a big a little medium-sized theater, and it's a good stage. Done shows there before, and the show was called Minority Retort. It's for people of color.
Flyers for that, yeah.
Yeah, and because I live in Portland, this is the kind of Mexican they're left with. I'm like, if you need a Mexican and you can't find one, I'm like last resort. I'm like phone in, like, yeah, he'll do. Take him. We got nothing else. Bring him in. You know. But yeah, that was the last show that I did, and I think that was like couple days before lockdown officially. I think it was like 2 or 3 days before lockdown.
Good show.
It was a good show.
Well, that's good.
There has been more people at that show before. It wasn't as filled as it normally is. I think there was probably like 40 people there opposed to like 80. But that was like right when everyone realized that the virus was here in the States. They kind of in the beginning of it, so everyone didn't like want to go out and everything. So it was pretty good for the circumstances. Yeah, I started smoking marijuana. Started smoking weed recently again because I didn't smoke weed for a couple of years. Just recently.
You were doing the beer.
Doing the beer and the tequila, which I still like to drink, but at night I get rip roaring stoned and watch movies until I fall asleep in a chair, and it's great. I can't eat pot. I can't eat weed. I'm not. Nope. I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a story about the last time I ate weed. Okay. It was on accident. I didn't know I was eating it.
That's not good.
I know. I'll say this before. If legalizing weed did one bad thing, it's making candy dishes around the holiday season dangerous. I can't trust homemade goods anymore. If it doesn't say Skittles or Snickers on it, I don't fucking trust it. Okay, so I was back at my old house. I was living with my girlfriend Callie, her sister Taryn, and then up above was 2 roommates. And we were pretty close, and we're pretty close with them. Like they would like bring us food, sit down sometimes, and we do the same up and down, like like that all the time. And they gave us, they brought something down for us, some food, some kind of baked goods around, because it was like right after Christmas. And they had some weed fudge that their friend made, and they accidentally gave it to us, and they didn't mean to. So we didn't know it was around, and my girlfriend just threw the fudge in the candy bowl downstairs that we had. And I didn't know, they didn't know I had weed in it. The upstairs neighbor didn't know that they even gave it to us. So it was completely down there. And I was just, being a normal fat shit that I am. I'm like, oh, look, candy. Threw it in my mouth, ate it. 45 minutes, an hour later, I'm just sitting on the couch, and I'm thinking in my head, why do I feel so fucking awkward? Why do I feel like a maniac right now? I feel like I can't talk. My stutter's coming back. I'm afraid of people. And then we're wrapping some Christmas presents, because it's a little after Christmas, and we're late giving some presents out. And I just start drawing dicks all over this present. I don't know who it's for. I don't know what it is. I'm just drawing dicks all over the wrapping paper of the present. And the wrapping paper has like dogs on it, and like puppy dogs with floppy ears, and I'm drawing dicks on their heads and stuff. It's a mess. And I sit back down, and my girlfriend Callie's wrapping some yellow bows, like ribbons around the presents, and I just scream out. I just go, "Oh, yellow! I like yellow!" And then I think, wait, why did I say that? Did I say that, or did I? And then I'm like, they're looking at me weird. I definitely just yelled, "I like yellow" for no reason. And then they go, "Okay, weirdo." And then I'm like, wait, I recognize this feeling. I'm high as fuck. I'm high as eagle tits right now. I am fucking just high. So we order pizza. We started watching that show, Mindhunter. Have you seen that?
No.
It's a show. It's a really good show. It's about serial killers, and it's about the two people that coined the name serial killer.
Oh,
and
yes, I did watch the first season of that.
Yeah, it could be a very graphic show.
Yeah.
They're talking to. So we ordered pizza, and then I started getting way too high. I started getting like high, like I don't want my girlfriend and her sister to know that I'm high for some reason, because I think they're gonna like fuck with me and be like, "Ooh, you're high," and like fucking. So I'm just like, all right, they can't know. I have to keep this from them. So I decided to do things that people decide to act in a way that people act when they're not high. So normally, like when I'm high, I would probably eat like 10 slices of pizza, or like just eat a bunch of pizza. So I was like, yeah, they're not going to find out that I'm high. So I only ate one slice of pizza. But sober Alex would eat 8 pieces of pizza anyway. So I don't know what I was thinking. And then I just go in the kitchen and I just start drinking Jameson, because I'm like,
yeah, balance it out, right?
Yeah. And I'm like, all right, if I say something stupid, I'm going to blame it on being drunk. And I don't know why I think that's a worse thing, or a better thing, because people have done far worse things drunk than they have high. So we're watching the first episode of Mindhunter, and they're talking to Ed Kemper. If you know who Ed Kemper is, like, you probably do, but he did some messed up things.
Yeah. And
I'm peaking. I'm getting as high as I fucking ever been. And Ed Kemper's talking about how this is what he said in the show. He's like, he cut his mom's head off, and then beep boop, his mom's head, his decapitated mom's head. And I'm like, I am too fucking high for this. I can't take it. Nope. I don't know. And I just calmly get up, walk into the bathroom, close the door, and I just like look in the mirror, silent for like a while. And I'm like, my eyes are as red as the devil's dick. I am high as a motherfucker. And I start thinking, I'm like, wait, have I been in here too long or not long enough? Yeah, so I'm just standing there. I'm like, wait, should I go to the bathroom? I don't have to go to the bathroom. I'll pull down my pants. So if one of them walks in on accident, they'll see me going to the bathroom. I'm like, wait, then they're going to think I'm one of those weird adults that pees with his pants all the way down to his ankles. Should I wash my hands? I didn't go to the bathroom. Just turn on the faucet. Don't wash your hands. So I did that. And then I left the bathroom and the faucet's still running. And then I have to go turn it off. And then I don't know. The rest of the night just kind of like, just fuzzy. And then woke up the next day, still high, still really high. Talked to the upstairs roommates, and one of the girls was like, hey, did you guys actually accidentally give us a weed chocolate? Because I told them, I'm like, I'm high right now. I was high last night. That's why I was being so fucking weird.
You didn't think about where the high came from at that point?
Me? I did. I knew. I was like, it's from that. I kind of was like, that's only, unless there was weed on the pizza, it had to be from that piece of fudge. So I told them, and I'm like, that's why I was being so weird. They're like, we didn't notice you were being weird. I'm like, oh, so I'm always that weird. Okay. Okay. That's just normal.
Yeah.
And so we talked to upstairs roommates, and they're like, oh my God, that you weren't supposed to get that. I was like, yeah, I know. And they were like, well, you're supposed to cut it into 4 pieces and eat just a piece at a time. I'm like, yeah, I could have told you that.
Yeah, I've had things like that happen.
Yeah.
It was always
so that's what.
Yeah.
That's why I don't trust candy dishes unless they say like a name brand on
Good.
it.
You shouldn't. That is a whole lot of high. I think I'm happy with you.
Thanks, Dad.
I'm proud of you, buddy. I'm proud of you.
I'm happy. I'm happy with you too.
Chumba and Wumba podcast. Check it out. Where do you find that podcast? On all of the podcast places?
On all of them, yeah. iTunes, yeah. SoundCloud. Go to SoundCloud. Yeah, SoundCloud is the place to find it. I would say that's the best way.
SoundCloud, Chumba and
Yeah.
Wumba.
Chumba and Wumba.
That's my
Has nothing to do with the band from the 90s.
I've never heard of that band.
Well, sometimes you get knocked down.
Yeah,
And then you get up again.
And that is the moral of this conversation.
Absolutely.
Get
Absolutely.
up again, right?
Amen.
Alex, it's been a pleasure talking with you. You're a funny motherfucker, and I am proud to have your name tattooed on my arm.
I am very proud of that too, my friend. I love you very much. And I just happened to show off my
spelled wrong on your arm.
Yeah. Canadians. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, what are you gonna do? All right. Bye.
Peace.